appearance on Dion's Daily Dose does not imply endorsement from or by any candidate or guest. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Dion Bergeron or Dion's Daily Dose are his own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any guest. Material and information presented is for general information purposes only. The Dion's Daily Dose name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dion's Daily Dose for our very special face-to-face with Shawn, our weekly show. And we got some stuff to talk about tonight. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. I'll let you kind of start off.
Okay, we could do the House impeached Mayorkas, the Department of Homeland Security chair.
Yeah, which I have seen some very interesting things about that. I don't know if you have. Obviously, the
House voted to impeach him 214 to 213.
That was close.
And I have mixed feelings about the impeachment act.
Okay, all right. Tell me what you're thinking.
Okay, I don't know if you should impeach the actual person carrying out the policy. This is actually Joe Biden's policy. He's just following orders.
Okay.
And I don't like the president that they're doing, because if Trump gets back in there, they might do that to a secretary of Trump.
It's possible.
Also, is another thing is this is a deeper problem between the legislative branch giving the powers to the executive branch. Do you know what I'm saying? Because
I do.
The executive branch is supposed to not make law, and in a way, the way that they're doing the border policy, they're making law because they're choosing not to follow the law.
You know what? So yeah, that's an interesting perspective. So you have, we can both agree that the laws are already on the books to slow down, if not completely stop, this insane flow of illegals pouring across our border, right? Okay. The fact is, the Biden administration is choosing to ignore these laws. Now, the question is that the fault of Joe Biden? Yes. But is Mayorkas culpable as the head of DHS? Is his failure to act, like you said, due to the commands or lack thereof from Joe Biden, or is it a failure on his part, or both? Because as we all know, these offices, these elected officials, these appointed officials are all supposed to take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. So like in the military, in police, in correctional officers, when I worked at Indiana State Prison, there's generally an oath administered, and you are told, especially in the military, that you do not follow orders that are you only follow lawful orders. So you don't follow orders that go against. And I don't know if you remember, there was a police officer at kind of the height of the pandemic when people were being like thrown to the ground over masks and all of that stuff. And he actually did a video where he said, you guys need to remember your oath. Your oath is not to these mayors. Your oath is not to these politicians making these mask mandates and stuff like that. The oath that you took was to the Constitution. And then it goes down from there. When you are told to enforce an unconstitutional action, then you need to stay true to the Constitution. He was actually fired for making that video. Yes, which proved his point. Absolutely proved his point. But you have these various administrators and, head of this and head of that are choosing to listen to unconstitutional orders. When you're told to ignore the law that our legislative branch created, everybody knows what the job is. So what do you think? He's still torn, or do you think,
Yes.
here's the thing. Absolutely. Joe Biden should be impeached for that.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly agree.
One of many things.
Well, yeah, there's no shortage of things we could argue he deserves impeachment for. But I think that Mayorkas is just as guilty, because he is choosing to allow unconstitutional orders to be followed. He is following, he is breaking his oath to the Constitution by doing the things that he's doing and, not doing the things he should be doing.
I understand the frustration. I wish that the legislative branch would try and get some of their power back, because with Obamacare, that's the first time I really saw a lot of their power that they had, given it to I don't know how much of Obamacare you read.
I read quite a bit of it.
A lot of it was whatever the HHS secretary wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of giving the power to
Right.
And then we got the war too, where they haven't declared wars for a long time.
Right. And you're absolutely right. And that is something Vietnam, even war didn't get declared. It was an action. It was a military action.
And they always do AUMFs, where
Yep.
the authorization to use military.
Right. And many people, I would say, don't really understand the full scope of what's being done in our name, not only overseas but domestically. And we have a situation here where we have the full power and might of the United States military being wielded unconstitutionally. So yeah, the whole Mayorkas thing is, it's almost an exercise in constitutionality, right? Constitutional law. And let's face it, realistically, it's not going to go anywhere. The Senate, there's no way the Democrat Senate is going.
They might spend a day,
if it even ever comes to vote.
if I remember right, I think they have to do something with it, but they can table it right away.
It'll come up and get tabled. Okay, so I don't think we're gonna answer, whether it's constitutional, whether he's, but I think there are definitely arguments to be made in both cases. Should he even be impeached because he's just following orders? But again, the Nuremberg trial said that's not a defense.
That is true.
In that case, then all of the police officers that violate our constitutional rights, most cops are good. Let's get that out of the way. But there are those that violate your rights. And in that case, they would be held unaccountable. They could get away with it because my boss told me to. So, it's still a failure. All right. What do you got? What's next?
You wanted to talk about the Russian opposition leaders.
Yeah, Navalny. So, okay. All right. So first, let's talk about timing, right? So this is crooked and it's bugging me. That's better. Okay. So Navalny has languished in a Russian prison for a little while, right? And suddenly passed away. Okay. But I don't know if allegedly, because I have a post that I want to touch on. Allegedly, we know why he died, right?
I haven't heard that.
I have. Now, like I said, I'm going to share the post in just a moment. But timing wise, does anyone find it interesting that when Ukraine is allegedly running out of bullets, That's what they said. They're low on ammunition. They had to retreat from this area that I can't pronounce and give it over to Russia. The aid package is languishing in the House. Suddenly, this opposition leader passes away. And of course, our media has seized on this as, look at how evil Trump is. He killed this poor freedom fighter. Putin, sorry. Everything's about Trump, so yeah. But yeah, look how evil Trump is too. But yeah, look how evil Putin is. He killed this poor defenseless guy, right? This is why we have to stop him. This is the whole reason we do this is this right here. He's so bad. Okay. So, and this ties in with it as well, but I don't know if you guys, here, let me get this shared. Boop. Boop. Okay. So Simon Ateba, I'm not sure how you say his name, but he has been a very outspoken reporter in the past. Breaking. Whoops. Hold on, I got to get back to it because I don't know why it does that. It's a feature of X. Okay. There. You got to do it twice for some reason. There we go. Dmitry Medvedev, a close ally of Vladimir Putin and deputy secretary of the Russian Security Council, warned that Russia would initiate a catastrophic conflict by launching nuclear attacks on cities like Washington and London if pressured to relinquish Ukrainian territory. Note, he said any attempt to roll back Russia's borders to their 1991 state would result in a global war with Western nations employing Russia's entire nuclear arsenal. Note, Medvedev's threat, conveyed via telegram, underscored the severity of the situation and the political consequences of escalating tensions, as reported by the Kyiv Independent. Now, the timing on this, again, very interesting. Now, remember, we've got Russian space lasers. You heard about that, right?
Yep.
Again, timing is everything. So we have this opposition leader who suddenly keeled over and died, Russian space lasers, and now they're telling us that if you guys try to do anything to take away the gains we've been able to claim, we're going to defend that. Now, I don't know about you, but it sure sounds like someone somewhere is trying to push us into a global catastrophe. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, here it is. Okay. So I had posted, there is certainly a great deal of misinformation floating around. We all need to use discernment, ask lots of questions, and as always, think for yourself and make up your own mind. Nope. We'll get there eventually. It's X started doing this recently where you have to, like, you go in your bookmarks and you click it and it seems to refresh and then you got to go back into it. Anyway. Yeah. So Tony Saruga says, the White House, Congress, Senate, the Military Industrial Congressional Complex, MICC, and the intelligence apparatus is totally lying about Alexei Navalny, Putin's enemy. But why should that surprise you? You've been gaslighted about everything. American politicians and media portray Alexei Navalny as a hero and victim of Putin's regime. We can agree with that, right? They do. Navalny's death is being utilized to sell the narrative of starting war with Russia and getting rid of Putin. The truth is, it is well documented that Navalny's background includes allegations of racism, xenophobia, and ties to extremist groups. I knew that, but I had conveniently forgotten it. Western media overlooks Navalny's controversial past, presenting him as a progressive hero. This is a fraud perpetrated by the CIA and military-industrial congressional complex. Doubts are raised regarding Navalny's alleged poisoning by the Russian government. Inconsistencies in reported events surrounding Navalny's poisoning have been highlighted, including a write-up in The Lancet. Lack of conclusive evidence implicating the Russian government in Navalny's poisoning is noted. Navalny's imprisonment is framed as justified due to repeated violations of parole conditions. Russian authorities showed leniency toward Navalny despite his parole violations. Navalny's low popularity in Russia is contrasted with his portrayal in Western media. Questions arise regarding Navalny's actual significance as Putin's main opponent. Navalny's political influence in Russia is questioned, with the support base estimated at around 3%. That reminds me of like, who am I thinking of? The governor guy who ran for president and he got like 3% of the vote and in the primary. And so he like suspended his campaign and endorsed Trump.
Oh, are you talking about Doug?
Yeah. I can't think of his name.
Of North Dakota.
Yeah.
Doug
Burgum. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So imagine they paint Doug Burgum as like Trump's greatest rival. That's what this guy is claiming anyway. Navalny's ties to Western governments, NGOs, and the CIA are very likely. Western manipulation of Navalny's image for geopolitical agendas is a reality. Now that they're going to manipulate because that's what they do. The discrepancy between Western portrayal and Navalny's actual background is a fact. The narrative surrounding Navalny's death is critiqued for its potential manipulation of public sentiment. Navalny's death is acknowledged as tragic, with concerns raised about his treatment in prison. In the video, viewers are urged to critically assess the information presented and draw their own conclusions. We'll get to the video. Read the book, The Navalny Case, Conspiracy to Serve Foreign Policy. Was Navalny deliberately poisoned? Does the evidence we have justify sanctions against Russia? And these are all excellent questions that people should be asking. Was the recording with the KGB agent a setup? Is Navalny really the, quote, main opponent of Vladimir Putin? Does his film about Putin's palace reflect reality? This book is the first investigation of the Navalny case. It is based on official American, British, Russian, French, and German documents. I'm interested in this book personally. Written by an ex-agent of the Swiss Secret Service who fought for 10 years against the Soviet Union, this account highlights a new way of practicing foreign policy: passionate, disordered, without hindsight or constructive purpose. The immediate application of sanctions while the facts remain unclear removes all space for diplomacy. Remember, almost the instant that guy was poisoned, right? Oh, we threw up sanctions immediately. The sanctions just deepened after Ukraine. They were already in place. The Western unison around this affair and the censorship against dissenting voices reveal a disturbing evolution of society and its growing vulnerability to manipulation. Speaking of, did you watch the interview with Tucker and Mike Benz?
I did not.
You should. It paints a very chilling picture of how big brothery the U.S. government and various connecting parts of it have become, and the level of control that they exercise over what we're allowed to post and what we're allowed to see on the internet. We create realities out of our prejudices. This is the definition of conspiracy, which has become the main weapon of Western countries. We do what we reproach the autocrats for. Now, here are a couple of pictures, right? Of course,
And And Russia does the same thing to us too.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely not one-sided.
And I want to make clear, Putin is not a good guy. I don't know. It's so mixed up that I don't know what to believe with this.
I will wholeheartedly agree with you that I don't think we should. I don't think we should be saying this person is or isn't good or bad. Me personally, I believe there are so many factors at play that we don't know. Like if, for example, like I used to believe most of the things that Trump said, but we know now that Trump has been playing a long game for many of the people that were in his inner circle. Bannon's gone, Flynn's gone. Like these were some of the, and he has said complimentary things about these people, but there is quite a bit of evidence that these were not people that were working towards his interests. So
that was one of the reasons why I didn't like. I've never really liked Bannon or Flynn.
Yeah,
I knew that they were up. So that's what confused me about why Trump picked them. In the first
right. And the book that I showed you, it goes into detail about some of the things, and it's a fascinating read, and it shows like just the chaos and the backstabby nature of a lot of the things that happened in the White House.
For a future show, but I don't know if you know about the Steve Bannon Russia connection.
Yeah. I'm familiar with it, and I'd like to actually go into it in a later show. Yeah. I'm looking for one thing in particular, but I don't see it right now, so that's okay. Let's see if this is the video that he's talking about. If it's one, I think no, this is a different one. But there is a video of Navalny communicating with someone, telling this, and it's not Navalny, I'm sorry, it's basically his top aide, saying that for like X amount of millions of dollars, they will sow chaos and have riots. And have you seen it?
I've heard it.
Yeah. Very, very interesting, and not something that I expected to find when I started getting into this. I'm looking for, there was a reply on here. I should have saved it because now I'm not able to find it.
There's not enough proof that.
Okay. So here's a video where it's showing him in some of his less, doing the, here. That's him right there. Yeah.
He's would never show us this.
Right. Our media would never, ever show us the things that go against the narrative. Yeah. And that's why it's important. And it's something that I really appreciate about you is you look at alternative, not alternative media necessarily. I look at alternative media. You're more of a multinational media reader. WION, I've found, is a really good resource. It is. I've seen many of their programs, and they seem to be about as fair and balanced as a media company can get. They rarely give opinions, from what I've seen, at least. Yeah. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's an additional arrest. There's actually several, but the update on the Times Square attack. In a stunning turn of events, we have learned that 2 of the 6 individuals involved in the brutal attack on NYPD officers in Times Square are actually members of the notorious Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Aragua. Have you heard this?
Fox reported on this today.
Yeah. It sends shockwaves. It's so wild because one of these guys, in El Paso, they had ordered his deportation a year ago, yet somehow he's in Times Square. He never got deported, allegedly. So these are the same people that, what's his name in New York, didn't even want bail for.
You're talking about Adams, the mayor?
No, not Adams, the DA, Bragg.
Oh, Bragg.
Yeah, that Bragg didn't set bail for. So
Servita Arocha in court today in Lower Manhattan are members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, according to ICE. The two are part of the migrant mob accused of beating and kicking two NYPD officers in Times Square last month. ICE telling me today that Juarez should not have even been in the U.S. A judge in
it's crazy, man.
Ordered him deported a year ago. Now they, along with 5 others in this case, are behind bars at Rikers. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg asked the judge for bail since the suspects have been indicted.
Our criminal justice system did its job. These individuals
eventually
are all behind bars where they belong.
Yeah,
after their
they do belong.
Arrest, Juarez and Arocha were released without bail by DA Bragg, along with Yorman Reveron and Darwin Gomez Isquiel. Isquiel was arrested again this week and charged with shoplifting at a Macy's in Queens.
They should have never been released.
They should have never been released. I wholeheartedly agree. Excuse me, with this gentleman, they never should have been released in the first place. When that happened, and I'll say this again, we have media bias, right? We have Fox News, for example. What they don't show is that allegedly this whole situation kicked off because the police were harassing someone. I think it was some degree of stop and frisk type deal, and were harassing an individual and demanding this and that when they had committed no crime, allegedly. I have not been able to verify that yet, so take that with a grain of salt. But that's the claim made by some of the other stations. And so they're like, does this mean it's okay to assault police officers? No, but I believe in a full picture of what happened rather than one side or the other giving us. That's why I like unbiased. Here's the entire event. Make up your own mind. Right. But nonetheless, they still should never have been released.
In the case should have requested bail.
Mm-hmm.
The judge should have kept them behind bars.
Henry Brito was the only suspect who was sent to Rikers on $15,000 bail after the beating in January. A source telling me that he was released this week after an activist pastor from a Brooklyn church posted his bail. However, he is now back in Rikers while authorities investigate the source of that money. Wilson Juarez.
Yeah. This church raised $15,000 for this guy's bail. And I made a post about it. I said, we got veterans living on the street, old, elderly who cannot feed themselves. They're eating cat food and dog food. I know, we see it. These people can't afford to feed themselves. And we got this church raising $15,000 to get an illegal alien out of, prison or out of jail for beating cops. Are you kidding me? This is the country we have now.
Everything's upside down.
Exactly. Everything is upside down. I would have to find the post that has the name of the church and all that stuff. But this is the kind of BS that we're dealing with. And it goes right to the Summer of Love and Kamala Harris raising money for bail money for the rioters. And a lot of people don't want to see that. They don't want to remember that. So yeah. There's one thing that I want to talk about, and this is actually kind of involved. So before I get to mine, go ahead and bring up your next point.
My next one would be the Supreme Court hearing the case on Trump, if he could be taken off the ballot in Colorado.
Okay, when is the hearing?
The oral arguments already happened
last
Thursday.
So let's see here. Trump.
And the way that the court, like, you can kind of tell how they're going to rule by the way that they ask the questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trump is going to win that case. There's no way that a state can take off.
Right. I think one of the biggest things, and this is it even came from some of the liberal judges.
Yeah.
They were, Sotomayor was basically like, has he been convicted of any crimes? Right? Wasn't that what it was? Has he been convicted of any crimes at this time? And the person's like, well, no.
And then she also said, why should one state be able to decide the election for the rest of the country?
Yeah. Yeah. Which I was personally surprised to hear that from a liberal judge.
I was too.
Yeah.
My brother predicted it. So I
Really?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Because I thought it would be 6-3. But he goes, nope, we'll probably get Sotomayor.
Wow. Look at him. He called it, didn't he? All
And
right.
then John Roberts also said something interesting.
Oh, Roberts did something useful.
Actually, yeah. He said something about how, he said that if
They have to have
doesn't-
something on him, dude. They have to have something on Roberts. They're like, there's no way around it for me because, you know that Roberts went to LaPorte High School.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he brought up the point that if you were able to take Trump off the ballot, then Republicans are going to do that in the future, the Democrats.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's going to be a 7-2.
Yeah. I agree with you there. I think it's going to definitely be, and AP, of course, they give their little 2 cents. And let's see here. Let's get
And
to
they're also trying to make it sound like they're trying to use the 14th Amendment in a way that was never meant to be.
Yes.
It doesn't qualify the president. They were talking about.
Yeah, they mentioned something about a court or an officer of the government,
Yes.
right?
And the president's not an officer.
Right. Let's see here. Okay, so here's a couple of the quotes. Justice Alina Kagan called the issue of determining whether someone engaged in insurrection, quote, just more complicated and more contested and more political. Justices Samuel Alito, Brett Kavanaugh, and Chief Justice John Roberts questioned Jason Murray, the lawyer for the plaintiffs, about what would stop other states from citing Section 3 and taking aim at politicians they didn't like. Yep, exactly what you said. Murray gave well-rehearsed arguments that won the day in the Colorado Supreme Court, whose 4-3 ruling that Trump was ineligible got the case to Washington. They basically said it's a once-in-history sort of event, blah, 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 blah. Section 3 presents a quandary. I'm not going to read all of this, but they really didn't care. It says the plaintiffs wanted this case to be about January 6th, not Griffin's case. That sums up their problem. They hoped for a Supreme Court affirmation that the former president did engage in insurrection and threaten the Constitution with his campaign to stay in office, but the justices weren't going there. Instead, they focused on the potential legal chaos of allowing state courts to decide who can be president. Kavanaugh noted, by the way, that there is a federal law against insurrection and it bars those convicted from holding office. Trump has not been charged with violating that law. And I think that's really, really important that these people need to understand. He has not been charged with insurrection at all by any, and they're going to have a hell of a time making that case, in my opinion, because while some of the Proud Boys and a couple of other people were charged with conspiracy and stuff like that, there are no actual insurrection charges on any of the January 6th participants. None.
Yeah, a lot of it's just trespassing.
Yeah.
And interfering in a government proceeding.
Right.
Some
Stuff
of those
like
people
that.
are still in prison.
Yeah. Which is a whole other topic, but absolutely. And for the liberals out there celebrating the people that are still in prison, imagine the roles are reversed. Seriously, just think for a moment, imagine. And I want everyone to be completely aware because there's documentation. Had Trump won, they were planning full-scale, actual, real riots. Look at what happened at the federal courthouse in Portland. Look at the little city in a city in Seattle. Like,
when they created their own.
yeah. And there were full-on plans to create massive riots across this country. And as you notice, no, there are no real long-term charges for the people that, participated in the quote summer of love, fiery but mostly peaceful protests. It's bullshit. It's absolute horseshit. And they know it. They know it. The liberals say, well, they didn't do this or they did do that, or no. We have a completely lawless society. And in many cases, the very people that are now trying to say Trump started an insurrection paid for the people who attacked police officers, who tore down statues, who burned and tried to destroy a president or the federal courthouse, paid for their bail and instructed DAs not to charge them. That's what we're dealing with. Yeah, it's sheer insanity. No, just there's a little lock on my chair and it wasn't all the way engaged. So, but yeah, it's when do you think they're going to give a ruling?
From what I've heard, next month sometime.
Next month. Interesting.
Expedient or make it quick.
Yeah, the expediency clause or whatever. Yeah, which, yeah, I mean,
They want to do it before Super Tuesday, I think. So I think Super Tuesday's coming up. So
yeah, we can look it up. When is now that I think about it, when is Super Tuesday? 2024.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, Tuesday, March 5th. Yeah.
I was close.
So yeah, I would say if they want to get it done, that'll be next week then. Yeah, we should be hearing about that pretty soon then. That's going to be, yeah. My personal takeaway, I would be shocked. I would be beyond shocked if they somehow found him ineligible to run at all. Which I guess there are states who might try the same stuff. They're trying it in Indiana. They're trying to remove him from the ballot, but this really is going to decide for all of them, in my opinion, because once SCOTUS hands down their decision, it's not going to, there's no way any state is going to be able to go against that. Again, in my opinion, I am no attorney. I'm not offering legal advice or legal counsel. You guys do your own thing here. So I want you guys to see something that is truly bizarre. It is freaking nuts. I'm just going to say it. It's fucking nuts. It really is, because this is where we're at today. An NHS trust has said that okay, here we go. That breast milk produced by trans women who, quote, were assigned male at birth, so dudes, is as good for babies as that produced by a mother who has given birth. I want to restate that. They're saying that breast milk produced by you is just, if you put a wig and a dress on, is just as good as mom's milk.
Yeah. I don't think
Bruh. You cannot make this up. You really can't. Quote, comparable to that produced following the birth of a baby, said the University of Sussex Hospital's NHS Trust in a letter to campaigners. And just so you know, I did try to go and read the article so I could bring it up. You can look at, this is their post. If you click on it,
usually they're a paywall.
It's a paywall. Yeah. And you know why there's a paywall? Because I want everyone to make sure that they understand. The reason that there's a paywall on this garbage is because these legacy media places are dying. They don't have enough subscribers. They don't make enough money from their garbage content, which is why they're laying off reporters left and right. It's nuts. Yeah. I'm just gonna say it that there's no way that this is real life. Like I used to never believe that we were living in a simulation, right? But I think we got a really bad DLC, downloadable content.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for our simulation. I think whatever, fat gamer up there playing me, is freaking out because he's wishing he had not installed the latest update because there's no way this is real, dude.
Like rejecting truth. I don't care what somebody does in the
right.
life,
and that's the key.
Truth.
Right. And we've gotten to the point to where it's not like it's a cult that rejects the evidence, because the reality is men's breasts do not produce breast milk. Have you seen Meet the Forkers? Oh my God. Hold on.
But also,
you go ahead while I get this, because
rejecting truth. Men should not also play in women's sports.
Agreed, because they can hurt people.
Yes, men are built bigger, and men can't give birth.
Let's see.
All right, let's see.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hold on. All right. So he goes to meet her parents, right? This is the boyfriend, right? And he's going to meet her mom and dad. That's really all you need to know. Okay.
That Greg grew up in Detroit.
He told me he grew up on a farm.
Do they have many farms in Detroit?
No, Dina. No, not a lot. In fact, Jack, I should clarify this. I didn't actually grow up in a farm per se. The house that we grew up in was originally erected in the early Dutch farm colonial style. So that, plus we had a lot of pets.
Which one did you milk then?
Dad,
Honey, he said he pumped milk.
what have you ever milked?
Cat?
What?
A cat?
A cat.
I milked a cat once. You want to hear a story?
Sure.
My sister had a cat, and the cat birthed a litter of kittens. Must have been 30 of them. And there was this one little runt, this little sweet little
30 of them.
Little engine that could run, who could, wanted to get up there and couldn't really get access to the teat,
Dad,
what have you. I went in and just simply,
Dude, you got to see this movie. I can't believe you haven't seen this movie.
officer, and then took this officer and fed it to Geppetto. That's what I named it, Geppetto.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
Oh yeah, you can milk anything with nipples.
Here we go.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Okay, can we just...
Oh, champagne.
Yes.
I thought we could celebrate with a little
That'd be great.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Yeah. Anyway, I had to play it for you. It ended up being a little bit more than I thought. I was looking for that particular part, but that's fine. And that wasn't really that long ago. Now they're telling us that yes, indeed, he can milk him. That's how stupid we have become. Trans women's milk as good as breast milk, says NHS Trust. Now, my question is legitimately, honestly, where the fuck is this milk coming from? Because men's breasts do not produce milk. They can get breast cancer. And there are, I'm sure somebody's going to bring this up. There are extremely, extremely rare cases where a man's glands excrete. And I'm not sure if that qualifies or not, but this is it's like men getting breast cancer. It happens, but it's exceedingly rare.
Unless the male is on hormones.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah. And redheaded libertarian says, and I wholeheartedly agree with this statement, I'm not allowed to eat soft cheese when I'm pregnant because it could harm my baby. But the slime from a male nipple produced by synthetic estrogen is perfectly safe. And that goes to my next point, because it's all connected. All of this is connected. I get to it. Where is it? Here it is. Okay. Raw milk, outlawed. Incandescent light bulbs, illegal. Claiming an herb can cure someone's health problem, criminal. Feeding newborn baby GMO corn syrup as sole source of nutrition, totally cool. I don't know if you pay attention, ladies and gentlemen, but this is Infamil. I'm going to actually click it again so that it comes up in the window I want it. There's probably a setting for that. I just don't know what it is, but this is Infamil, right? Made from the Infamil brand. Ingredients: corn syrup solids. 55% of formula is corn syrup. And then a whole bunch, vegetable oil, all of this garbage. Realistically, it's garbage. And don't get me wrong, there are those babies that have to have a certain kind of thing. And there are those women who are unable to produce breast milk. It happens. But what I think is very, very interesting down here, circled in red, this product contains a bioengineered food ingredient. Now, what I think is really, really interesting is the study that just came out that shows 80% of our oats contain toxic chemicals.
Yeah, you said that to me the other day.
Yeah. Did you see it?
I did.
Okay. New York Post had a article, and I covered it in a previous video, but let's put the pieces together, shall we? That 80% of our oats, which are considered bioengineered, because how do you avoid the toxic chemicals in the oats? Organic. You have to go organic because that's the pesticides that have leached in to the oats. So bioengineered foods, corn syrup solids. And I might add that the Biden administration, which lefty, progressive, whatever, they're supposed to be all about the environment and all about health and all of that, right? Republicans are supposed to be the evil ones, allegedly, right? They claim. So the Biden administration is actually trying to expand the use of this toxic pesticide. And it's not even a pesticide. It's actually, it causes the stalks to stand up straighter so they don't fall down. So it's actually, it's for a purpose, but they're trying to expand it to include corn, wheat, all these other things, right? What do you think our children eat? Like this. And it's already bad enough. And I have heard, and I know, we're talking anecdotal, stuff, but I have direct experience watching children that were taking formula and then were able to go back on breast milk. There is a decided, noticeable difference in the way they act, the alertness level, noticeable. Yeah. And that doesn't even get into, vax theory and all that crap, right? I'm just talking about strictly the food that they eat. There is a noticeable, real, measurable difference between those who ingest formula and those who ingest breast milk. Now they're telling us that there's no difference between the breast milk produced by a woman, born a woman, and breast milk of a man that's become a woman. Bullshit. I call bullshit. No. You will never convince me that feeding chemicals to a person causes them to produce something that's good for a baby. Ain't gonna happen. There's no freaking way. There's one more thing, at least one more, honestly, that I really want to get to. But I'll give you the floor.
Okay. The next topic was. Do you have the topic right? I'm trying to remember what mine.
No, it's on there. Let's see. I don't have them. I don't have them in front of me, but I know it was Mayorkas, Supreme Court. The
Biden administration is trying to
That's what it
go
is.
around the Supreme Court. I remember.
Okay, yeah. On the student loans.
Yes.
Right?
You
Okay,
have
so
a
let's see what the
hardship.
let's see what the latest is. Student loan, Biden. Okay, so it looks like 3 days ago, these student loan borrowers could get debt relief and new hardship proposal. Okay, so allegedly, they're gonna say F the Supreme Court. Now, which is really funny to me because if you look at, right, they're going to give Texas a hard time for saying, no. This is in the Constitution, by the way, that a state has the right to self-defense. So to hell with the Supreme Court, F them. Biden administration is like, right? I mean, apoplectic over it, talking about how, insurrectionist this and, Civil War that, right? But they themselves are perfectly okay with going against the Supreme Court when it suits them. Precisely. Yeah. Looks like there's a new proposal. Yeah. I mean, it's all the same crap. Apparently they are expanding it now, saying we want to forgive even more. Yeah.
If you had Pell Grants or if you can prove that you're in hardship.
Right.
They would define hardship.
Right. They never define it clearly enough. And part of the issue for me is when these definitions do get decided, right? What is hardship? Well, for one, it always seems to go, these hardship grants always seem to go to certain groups, to certain demographics, to certain people. And
that's unconstitutional.
Thank you. And it's really important that people need to understand this. They're like, one of the big things I remember when I ran for office, someone kept asking, why can't we forgive all the debt of veterans? Veterans should have to pay no taxes, for example, right? Especially property taxes. That was a big thing because at the time we had Rainwater running for governor, and he was talking about getting rid of state taxes and income taxes. And there was a considerably large movement at the time that was like, okay, but before we do that, veterans. And don't get me wrong, I'm actually in favor of that plan, except it is against the Constitution to favor any group over any other group. It has to affect everyone equally.
I think it's just Biden trying to get votes.
Oh yeah,
numbers are so bad.
There's no way that this actually goes through. There's no way. So let's see here. Let me get back to this because let's see if there was. I thought there was. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about it. Let me get back to this because there's something that that's again. You can't make this stuff up anymore. You really can't. But before we move on, I think it's important to acknowledge when you're only a little racist that it separates you. I don't know if you can see the picture. Okay, it was funny to me. All right. Anyway, so let's see here. That's that. Okay, so this I find fascinating. And a lot of people don't know about this because, again, our media is not doing the job. This is wild. All right. It's going to take a little bit for me to bring us up to speed, right? So sit back, grab a snack. I actually got to there's got to be a way to like get this to go. Wait. Oh, that's how you do it. Okay. All right, good. Think back. This is from at Tony Saruga. Again, he has really good, some really good takes and some really good information. So if you're on X, maybe throw him a follow because I follow him. Think back. While Washington, D.C. was riveted on the events of January 6th at the U.S. Capitol, the FBI quietly released a trove of files ordered released by then President Trump from an urgent yet seemingly controlled investigation 60 years ago into who else? Nancy Pelosi's father, who was accused of multiple criminal activities. Her brother, too, with sex charges involving two girl cousins, one 11 and the other 13 years old, were presented by the grand jury against 10 young men from Baltimore, including Nancy's then 20-year-old brother, Franklin D. Roosevelt D'Alessandro, and being involved with Communist Party USA, a Soviet front group, according to the FBI. Nancy Pelosi absolutely had to keep control of the narrative of what happened on January 6th. That is why the attack on the Capitol will now be investigated by a House Select Committee after party line vote. The truth is that Nancy Pelosi had numerous motivations for the January 6th resurrection, and she very well likely orchestrated it with the help of the FBI and Capitol Police leadership. There's a lot of information here, and this is really important. This isn't just some guy going, right? Let me show you. 1, to create a smokescreen and distract the news cycle from the release that day of once classified FBI files ordered released by then President Trump on her communist-linked father. Here are the files, by the way. I'll open this in another little tab, but we're going to move on. Number 2, to smear President Trump, allowing the House and Senate to impeach him, preventing him from ever holding public office again. This second impeachment failed, just like the first one. 3, to create a narrative that conservatives are domestic terrorists and must have their weapons confiscated. All conservatives, whether present in Washington, D.C. on January 6th or not, this is still in motion, and they very well may get their domestic terrorism classification against conservatives. They're still trying for that. They had people flagging Bible purchases. Think about that for a second. How ridiculously crazy are we into 1984 that buying a Bible could get you on a list? Here is the actual clipping. Sex charges involving 2 young girls are presented against 10 Baltimoreans. Baltimore, August 11th. Sex charges involving 2 girl cousins, one 11, the other 13 years old, presented, blah, blah, blah. 9, including 20-year-old Franklin D. Roosevelt D'Alessandro, son of the Baltimore mayor, Thomas D'Alessandro, that's Nancy Pelosi's father, were accused of rape. Another was accused of perverted practices. The grand jury's new charges brought to 15 the number of boys and young men involved in the case. Earlier, it had presented and indicted 3 men ranging from 22 to 24 on rape and perversion charges, and a 15-year-old boy on a charge of perverted practices. Still, another young man was named in a warrant on similar counts but had disappeared. Of the 10 named by the jury today, 2 under 16 were charged with rape. The presentments were returned after a 2-hour session, which included testimony by the young girls. Besides young D'Alessandro and the 2 boys under 16, those presented today on rape charges were William C. Krug, 16, blah, 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 it goes down through who they are. previously presented and indicted on charges of rape and perversion were some more guys. With D'Alessandro, these three were accused of keeping the girls in an apartment for a week and assaulting them. The jury's big batch of presentments came today after the girls were returned to the custody of their parents. Their release from a detention was ordered by Judge Herman M. Moser after a habeas corpus hearing resulting from action by the parents. That
Crazy.
Yeah, and with the help of the FBI and Capitol Police leadership. Of course, we now know that these two truth-telling patriots were not part of Nancy Pelosi's scheme, and they have been targeted for not lying and following the establishment narrative. At Chief Sund, this guy, Chief Stephen Sund, if you haven't heard of him, I highly recommend you look him up. He tells a very, very interesting story about what actually happened on January 6th. He was the former chief of police of the United States Capitol Police. He knows a lot.
Yeah, not heard of him.
Again, former chief of police of the United States Capitol Police, and Elian Siotic, Tarek Johnson, former lieutenant with the U.S. Capitol Police. Highly recommend you look into these individuals. If again, I'm going to leave this. Chief Sund is at Chief Sund, S-U-N-D. Look him up on X. And then at ELLEONCEOTK. Tariq Johnson.
You'll have to send me that tweet.
Okay. Former lieutenant with the U.S. Capitol Police. Follow and support these heroes. And I agree with that. Follow and support those heroes because they have the courage to speak out. Tariq Johnson, I can't remember if it was Chief Sund or Tariq Johnson, but one of them was in charge of the task force, and they were completely eliminated from the loop about Capitol security on January 6th. There were things going on as far as security procedures that they were not a part of, even though they were supposed to be in the loop. Fascinating stories. I highly recommend you look into these individuals. They are absolutely targeted, and there are some very disturbing facts about January 6th that the mainstream media will never, ever tell you.
And not all the videos have even been released yet, have they?
No, that's the next thing. Allegedly, which I don't understand how this is possible, but allegedly, McConnell is blocking. Now, how McConnell can block the Speaker of the House, I'm not sure, but I'll be the first to tell you that I don't have a super deep understanding of the way that Congress works, even though I ran for it. Had I made it past the primary, I'd have done a lot more studying. But yes, I'm not sure. Right. I'm not sure how that works, but yeah. I don't know, but that's what we're being told. Which is the reason why all of it hasn't been released as was promised. I don't know if you remember that, but Speaker Johnson said we're going to release it all. And but McCarthy's a POS. He's a rhino. I have put it this way. I have my own issues with McCarthy. But Johnson is not proving to be that much better. In ways he has, but in other ways, not so much. I will say this. I don't care what country it is, which foreign nation it is. If it's not the United States, they are not my priority. I do not give a damn about Ukraine. I do not give a damn about Israel. I don't care about any of these countries until and unless we take care of our homeless, our veterans, our people that live in this freaking country and are citizens of this country first. take care of them. Here's a perfect example, right? East Palestine, Ohio. Maui. There are countless examples of people that have been affected by both natural and man-made disasters. And where's their assistance? What did the federal government send Maui people? $700, if that, per household? And we have billions to send to Ukraine and Israel. I'm tired of the bullshit, man. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Thank you. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that this stuff doesn't eventually affect us, because we're part of a global community. Sure, it affects us. But as far as our priorities need to be the security and sanctity of this country, AKA fix the damn border. And B, let's take care of our veterans, dude. Those people literally lost limbs. And don't even get me started. Anyway.
We should take care of our vets.
Yeah, and not just our vets, but the people of this country deserve to come first, because they are citizens of this country, not another country.
We can't take care of the whole world.
Right. We can't. Absolutely not. And because we have tried to take care of the whole world, now we have been surpassed by China. We are getting surpassed by several other countries in different areas. And what's the United States going to have? Just saying. So anything else you want to touch on or tell people before we wrap it up?
No problem.
You good? Okay. So we're going to do this again Wednesday because of your work schedule. So if that changes, I'll post it and let you guys know. But otherwise, we appreciate you spending your time with us. And as always, God bless you. God bless Indiana, and God bless.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2024. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.